Hi, hello, welcome back to Bioenergetics. My name is Devraj, and today I'm going to look more deeply at the bow and arch, the bow and the arch, because this is like the cornerstone position, the foundation of bioenergetics in many ways. And I think, even if you didn't have any knowledge of bioenergetics and knew no other postures, but you really worked this pair of postures, you would still get a phenomenal level of development over time. It's really it. It's for basic practice. What I see is that there are three main areas of energetic and psychological blockage in the body, and they are the gut, the back, particularly the lower back, and the throat. These are the areas where we accumulate tension when we don't express our emotions, when we're holding on to trauma, when we're holding on to conditionings that we've had, and, when we're living in this kind of clenched up version of ourselves. If you start to open these three areas, the throat, the belly, and the back, particularly the lower back, you will get more life energy, you will feel more okay to be you, and you will feel like you have a right to go out and live your life. And the bow and the arch work all three of these areas when they're done proper. Quite vertical here, let's get that. Yeah, but this is a bit of a masterclass, so I want to go through essentially the main points of each posture, the arch and then the bow. And then I also want to look a little bit at variations. And the key thing to understand, because I know a lot of you guys out there who follow me, subscribe to my channel, are working on your own, and so you need to have a lot of vigilance if you're going to work on your own. You need to really be able to get on your own case, call your own bullshit, and in practical terms, it means whilst you're in a posture, keep monitoring that you're really in the posture. That means checking certain areas of your body. Have you got this right? Have you got that right? Because you will drop it all the time. It's just human nature. Because when we use bioenergetics, what we're doing is we're going direct into where we've got all the repressed feelings. And at an egoic level, the mind will say no. To some degree, it will say no. And so you'll find very quickly you'll either start to drop the posture, or you'll stop breathing, or you'll go somewhere else in your mind and not feel your body. So you need to check the posture's correct. And that means all the elements of the posture, and I'm going to go through those with the bow and the arch in a minute. You need to check your breathing is still coming out of the mouth and you're really engaging with your body. You can feel it. Okay, so let's having said that, let's get into the bow and the arch. Historically, it's usually credited to a guy called Alexander Lowen, who some people think is the founder of bioenergetics. I don't know the whole history. I've heard other accounts that other therapists were doing a lot as well, but they didn't write so many books. And some people saying that the Native Americans used to do bioenergetics and the bow and arch in particular. So I don't know the whole history, but What's interesting to note, and what's a little bit confusing at times if you look at different people teaching bow and arch, is that some people call the arch the bow and some people call the bow the arch. So that can be a little bit confusing. You can watch out for that if you're checking around different bioenergetics books or channels or whatever. But the postures are essentially the same. So we're going to start with the arch. And this is, I call it the arch because you're leaning forwards and your body makes a kind of arch shape. So before you get started, you want to check that your foot position is correct. And this is unlikely to move while you're doing it, but you just want to check at the beginning that your feet are about shoulder width apart or a little bit less, maybe even like 30 centimeters a foot, 12 inches apart, and that the outsides of your feet are roughly parallel. So you check that. And then you just sit and you breathe and you feel your body. You stand and you feel and you breathe your body. Stand and breathe and feel your body, getting it right. Let your head become heavy and you start to fall down. And there's different ways of doing this, and different teachers will say different, but essentially if your fingertips are about 6 inches from the floor, this is the basic position. Let me do it sideways on because when you're in this position, there's an assortment of stuff you need to check. So you need to stay aware and vigilant. Don't go spacing off somewhere and waiting for the ding or the end of the thing and think, wow, I've done it. You've got to stay present in your body and checking stuff. So what are we going to check? First, check your leg position. Are your knees nearly locked straight but not quite? So they're not bent down like that. The legs are just a little bit of flex in the knees. Check that your head is loose. Your neck is loose. You can give it a jiggle to prove to yourself. And that your shoulders are loose. So that your head and your arms are hanging like a rag doll. Next thing you can check is, that your knees aren't pulling in. You don't need to really push them out in some ways. It wouldn't really be possible anyway. But your knees should be pushing a little bit out. Pushing outwards rather than falling in. And the weight is towards the front of your feet. And then finally, you kind of imagine that there's like a cord pulling your tailbone up towards the ceiling, stretching your legs to have a nearly straight. And then you've got this position, so you've got these parts. You've got your knees at the right flex. You've got the weight towards the front of your feet. Your heads and your arms relaxed, knees pushing out, and like a cord pulling up. Those are 5 points that you can repeatedly check, and then check your breathing and that you're staying in your body. That your fingertips are about 6 inches from the floor. Check this stuff continually. And just stay there and breathe and feel your body for as long as you're supposed to. And when it's time to come out of it, slowly come up. So actually we've got 6 points there. 6 points there that you can repeatedly check. And you need to start to internalize this stuff if you're serious about making steps forwards, So fingertips about 6 inches from the floor. That was 1. Your knees, just a little bit of flex in them. The weight towards the front of your feet. Number 3. Your neck and your shoulders loose. Number 4. Your knees push a little bit out. Number 5. And you imagine a cord pulling your ass up to take your legs nearly straight. Number 6. Those are the 6 points. And if you stick with that and you keep on breathing, then you will have the arch position cold. And people say, how long can you do this for? Well, start in a way that you don't overdo it, But you can build it up, man. You can build it up to an hour if you want to. And you might think, no fucking way am I doing that shit. I've never done it for an hour. I've done it for, I think, half an hour, just hanging. But it's a very powerful exercise, and it will open your lower back up progressively. What's also important is not to overdo it when you're starting, So if you're hanging down with the arch position and it's really too much on your lower back, the idea is you're keeping yourself on the edge of your comfort zone, right? So that doesn't mean torturing yourself. It doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook all the time, but it doesn't mean torturing yourself. You don't want to pull muscles in your lower back. So if it's really too much, you can put your hands or your elbows on there, Or better if you're working on your own, on your hands or your elbows on your knees. But better if you're working on your own is not to overdo it at first and then build it up, You can build it up to like 5 minutes easily, Well, I'm not going to say easily. That's putting a bit too much kind of competition stuff on. Go at your own pace. But certainly 5 minutes down is great. Is a good standard to do 5 minutes down, hanging, maintaining these 6 position points and breathing. Okay, I think we've done the arch. And now let's look at the bow. So called the bow because it's shaped like an archer's bow. Of course, more confusing that you call it an archer, who is like someone who shoots arrows. So your body's going to form this shape from the side. That's the idea. And I can't demo it actually perfectly because my ankles were a little funny, but essentially you've got 5 points to watch here. 5 points to watch. So having done your arch, you're coming back up, and when you're ready, you bring your arms right up. That's the first point. Stretching up, fingertips outstretched. And then your arms back. Your arms back behind the ears. And then your pelvis forwards. That's point number 3. Your chest out, like a cord is pulling your chest up at 45 degrees. This is very important. A lot of people, when I'm teaching, you'll see they shrink the chest. The arms come forward a bit and they shrink the chest. That's hiding from life, essentially. And you don't want to hide from life. So don't put yourself down if you're doing it, but start to change it. And the final point is eyes open. In fact, eyes open for both of these exercises and looking dead ahead. So these are these are the points you need to remember. And whilst you're in this bow position, you can check that stuff. Again, your knees should be a tiny bit of flex. Pelvis forwards. Chest forwards. Arms up, arms back, eyes dead ahead, open. And in this position, breathe. And you can also express a bit in this position if you want to. It's not so easy in the arch position because your head is hanging down, but you can express. And in this, you can also express. But if you do express, don't drive it from the mind, It means more make a sound on the out-breath. When you're used to this position, start to make a sound on the out-breath And you can even tune in inside your body where there's tension, feel in there and just make a sound. So it's like I can feel some tension in my lower neck. So I'm going to go, ah. So I'm not really controlling the kind of sound I'm making, you know. Just somewhere inviting my neck to express. And all the time I'm checking this position. It's my pelvis forwards, chest forwards, arms up, arms back, eyes looking dead ahead. Maintain that position. That's the key. You know, you need this inner vigilance. And then when you've got those 5 points, keep on breathing. So, you know, in the length of time that you're doing the exercise, stay really present in your body and breathe. You know, you don't achieve much. You say, wow, Devraj, I can do it 20 minutes. And sometimes people come to a class and they're holding all the time. You know, you got to breathe and feel. It's not about holding on. It's about opening your body. This position is a classic body opening position. It's like the soul's position coming into life, you know. You want to be open to life, you know. If your energies, you know, when you take the blocks out of your system, you get inner clarity and you don't need to protect so much. You don't need to close your chest. You know, you can run with the wounds. You know, you can feel the pain. You can go through a lot. Stay open. So you maintain this position as long as you decided to begin with. If you want the ding tracks, you can download them off my website. Doesn't cost you a penny. You don't have to sign up to any newsletters, don't worry. So remember these 5 points. Once again, let's go through them. Pelvis forwards, chest forwards, eyes looking dead ahead, arms up and eyes back, and then breathe. Breathe like a motherfucker. Breathe deep and feel what's going on inside, and feel free to express a bit if you want. Okay, so those are the basic points. We found 6 points with the arch position and 5 with the bow. You know, write that stuff down if it helps you so you can memorize it. If you're serious about working on yourself, you can do this position every morning. You know, and a good start with as long as is comfortable for you, particularly in this arch position so you don't strain your lower back, and do the same length of time up in the bow as you do going down. Work it up, build it up to 5 minutes if you can. You know, that's a good standard of openness. Making sure that you're really breathing and feeling throughout. That's the challenge, rather than just increasing the time level. You've got to really engage with your body as well. And like that, you will get a lot of change over time. You will get a lot of change. Your body will open. You'll feel more clear. You've got a right to just be yourself out in the world. Now let's look at a couple of variations that you can do, and don't do these when it's getting a bit tough in the normal way, so you start to fiddle around with it and vary. No, that's not the point. That's not the point. It's just a little bit of variation that we can bring in. And in the arch, something you can definitely do, particularly if you're interested in getting your body to spontaneously shake, is say you're doing three times round, which is a good standard. You've brought it up to, say, 4 minutes. You're 4 minutes down, 4 minutes up, 4 minutes down, 4 minutes up. On the last time, you might want to try something a little bit different with the arch position. So you're hanging down, breathing and feeling, and you can lean forwards onto gentle fists. Straighten your legs, but lift your heels off the floor and see if your body starts to shake. You can adjust the position between your hands and your legs, and your feet rather, so you can change it a little bit more and see what happens, or put it a little bit less, see what happens. And if you find a point where it's shaky, let your body shake out for a while and breathe through it. Try to let your neck be loose. So that's one thing that you can add into the arch position. Another thing you can add is to try and, when you're hanging, hands down, and lift a foot off the floor and see what happens a bit. Take one leg off, increasing the chance that one leg can shake out, and then use the other one. You'll notice when I'm putting my hands down, I'm using like a kind of gentle fist kind of thing like this. I find if you splay the hands out and push down like that, it locks tension in the wrists, and the wrists get very tense anyway. And when your wrists are tense, the heart circuit can't open so well. You want to keep your wrists fairly open and flexible. that's a little bit of variation that you can apply into the arch. In the bow position, there's a couple of very common variations that you will see, and they involve a position of the arms. Always, you've got the pelvis forwards and the chest open, and like the classical bow is having the arms up and arms back, and then you can also do it in a kind of crucifix position. Arms stretching out to the side. Chest forwards, pelvis forwards, arms stretching right out like you're being, pulled apart. Maintain that for a good length of time, the same as you're doing the other. So you can do that. Another classic position with the bow is to take gentle fists and again pelvis forwards, chest forwards, and then put that, and eyes level, put them in your lower back around here. Probably see roughly where I'm doing it. And this is another variation you can use. Pushing yourself forwards. What's also important in the bow is sometimes you'll see people who've got a lot of flexibility around here in their back. I don't have so much, and they can lean back massively. I can't quite demo it, but they can lean back massively, but that's not always opening totally. So if you feel like you're really leaning a long way back, you don't need to lean quite so far. You're trying to create this bow position, this bow shape rather, this bow shape. So that's a little bit of extra guidance. Okay, so that's some good stuff about the bow and the arch, and hopefully it's useful for you in your practice. Remember the vigilance. This is the core of it, And every now and again, come to a class with a teacher you respect in some way, and make sure you're doing it right. Don't be afraid. A lot of people work on their own because they're a bit afraid also for feedback. But like this, you could get the position a bit wrong, and then you could be doing it for years and not really getting the development. So somewhere you have to also, hopefully when you do this position right for a while, you become more open to feedback. I go to other guys' classes, on bioenergetics, and just to do it, see new insights, get some feedback. It's fucking awesome, Sure, maybe my ego has a little bit of resistance, don't tell me what to do kind of thing going on sometimes. But if you stay in that position, that fear position or control position from the mind, it's hard to really develop. So every now and again, try and see if you can find a therapist who can check out your position, give a little bit of feedback, or go to a class so you learn a little bit new stuff. Okay, that's me. Thank you for tuning in. And, don't forget to subscribe if you're into it. Okay, bye for now and have a good day.